Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. So, another video for our Kings of War Vanguard series this week, and this time we're concentrating on the campaign system. It's a pretty meaty campaign system, and I haven't seen a lot of coverage about it yet from Mantic or anywhere else, so I thought it deserved its own video this week. So, without further ado, let's get on and have a discussion about it. So, for those that have never played a campaign before or are not really sure what that means or why the rules are even in the book, a campaign is essentially a set of rules that allows you to link together individual games of Kings of War Vanguard, where the outcome of one kind of battle or one scenario will have an impact on the next one. And in between each of these battles, your warband characters will level up, they'll gain experience points, they'll level up through their ranks as they gain experience, they might find treasure, which allows you to buy extra equipment, and it will kind of narrate a really engrossing story. So how does Kings of War Vanguard handle this? Well, there's a few things that we need to discuss, and I've got some notes here, so if I keep looking down, you know why. Essentially, you set up a Vanguard company, and think of this as kind of your base camp. This is where your it's not your full army, but maybe the leaders have sent a smaller company of warriors out to survey the situation, and then from that company, you then have to pick your warband that will go on and fight. And in the campaign system, your Vanguard company is essentially 400 points of models. And then what you'll do is when you come to fight your individual scenarios, you will draw from that 400 points of company to put together your warband that will fight in that particular scenario. You also have a supply caravan. And this supply caravan is essentially all of the equipment that you purchase before you set off into the campaign. Now, you can't take any weapons later that you haven't already purchased. You still have to pay the points for them as well, so they have to be within your 400 points of the entire Vanguard company. However, as you progress through the story later on, through your scenario, through your campaign, as you get more campaign gold, you can buy extra equipment. So you can't decide 2 games in, oh, I really wish I had sort of this piece of equipment, and just switch it out. You'd need to buy it with your campaign gold, and you buy this equipment from the equipment lists in the main part of the rules, where you can have, I forget the exact terms now, but there's common, sort of rare and unique items. Then what you have is within your warband, within your Vanguard company, you have sort of characters called the retinue, and this is really essentially the leader or the leaders or the specialists of your group. And these are the guys that will have some extra special rules, or maybe may level up experience points quicker, that kind of thing. Now, building a company, how do you actually build it? You essentially have to choose a faction, so whether that be kind of Basileans, whether that be Abyssals, whether that be Northern Alliance, you choose your faction, and you have to stick to your faction, and then you nominate one of your command models to be your leader. That leader then gets 1 extra red power dice that you can add to your power dice pool as long as he kind of survives the battles. That leader also gets a bonus XP for keeping warriors and grunts alive during the campaign. And he also gets extra bonus XP for completing mission objectives. So you can see the person that you have as your leader retinue can get some bonuses by kind of taking care of the warband. Now, the rest of your company, again, it was 400 points of Vanguard company, and it's the same or very similar composition rules to the one-off games. So in the one-off games, for every 3 grunts or warriors, that enables you to take 1 command model, 1 support model, and 1 spellcaster. I'm trying to remember there. In the campaign rules, the only difference is you're not limited as to how many command models you can take. You can take as many command models as you want, but you can only take 1 spellcaster and 1 support model for every 3 grunts or warriors in your warband or in your company, I should say. So what we have in company retinues, again, as I mentioned before, these are your specialists, and here you can see the leader model here. It can only ever be a command model. Another retinue that you can have is a quartermaster, and the restriction is that this has to be a warrior model. Again, there's some bonuses here depending upon the role they play within the game, and they get some unique XP as well. Basically, it says the quartermaster model gains 1 extra XP if he survives a game, even if removed as a casualty and is on the winning side. So you can be removed, kind of, you can essentially be killed within the battle or taken out of the battle, but then you have to roll on an injury table later to see if that model survives and is injured or basically is wiped out and can't take any further part within the campaign. So also moving on, you'll see we have the Arcanist. Has to be a spellcaster, I should say. You have a Mauler who has to be one of the large models and must have a melee stat as well. So there's some bonuses there that basically, so for example, if the model with the Mauler roll causes a wound but doesn't kill its opponent, it may immediately make a second attack action against the same target with a single die before retaliation. So you can kind of see how that will give you a bit of an extra bonus, almost like a double strike. You can have a Master Scout, and this is restricted to models with the Scout rule. You can have a Healer, which is basically any model class, and you can have up to 2 healers. And you can have a Hunter there as well, and restriction for this is it has to be a support or a warrior. So you can see that the retinues really do add some flavor and make it feel almost kind of very RPG as well. What I would say is basically your leader retinue is free to choose, so you have you choose your leader for the company. Your first additional role is free, so you can choose any one of those roles we've just looked at for no cost. But from then on, you must pay campaign gold to promote one of your normal models to one of those retinues. And experience, basically, as those models gain experience, it allows your models to increase in rank as well. Now, ranks basically are, they give stat improvements, or they might give new rules, or basically new skills to individual models as well. Grunts can never gain experience, so they can never rank up. Warriors can gain experience, and they can rank to a maximum of rank 3, and all the other models, such as your spellcasters and your supports and your leaders, can all rank up to a maximum of rank, I think it's rank 6. I wrote rank 5 down here, but I'm pretty sure it was rank 6. So how does the campaign kind of work out? You start by determining the scenario. You then muster your warband, as we've just described. Then there's something really interesting, which is called the underdog dice. And basically what happens is at the start of the battle, you count up the total of your combined ranks. So if you have 5 rank 5 models in your company, in your warband, you basically have 25 rank points. You then compare the difference between them, and whoever has the least, you basically take the difference between those two numbers. So say I've got 25 rank, you've got 20, the difference between them is 5. You basically half that and round up, so that would be 3. And what you get is you get 3 power underdog dice, and those go into a separate pool, and at any point when you roll for power at the start of each round, you can choose to pull up to 3 of those dice into that pool to boost your kind of turn this turn. Now, once you've used those dice, or once they've gone into the pool, that's it, they're gone. They don't come back every round like normal power dice, but it's just a little bit of a balancer mechanic to stop somebody getting a little bit too far away. And of course, everybody is still limited to those 200 points in each battle too. There's also something called a helping hand as well. So again, you take the difference between those rank points, which in this instance was 5. And then basically what would happen is, if I had 25, you've got the 20, you get an extra 5 points to spend on a model. One single model. Now, it might be actually that 5 points might not be enough in the early rounds, but that's because there's not too much difference between us. But if I get to a point where I'm 10 rank ahead of you, all of a sudden you've got 10 points to bring an extra model into your warband. This is actually on top of the 200 as well, so you'd end up in that case with 210 points. Now, mercenaries are something else as well. You can actually hire up to 1 mercenary in your warband. It does come out of your 200 point cost, so you still have to allocate that in. They're not part of your company. It's something that you hire just before the battle. And they cost their standard points, so say 17 points, but they also cost campaign gold as well. You have to hire them. You've got to pay for the privilege of having a mercenary. And they cost 1 command gold for every 5 points the model costs. So in this instance, this model costs 17 points. You'd have to pay 4 command gold for them. Now, these mercenaries, they're not added to the roster. As I said, you can only recruit them just before the battle, and they don't go back into the roster. You can rehire them again each battle, but you basically have to keep paying for them each battle as well. And they also don't gain any experience points. So you can see here how we've got a little bit about how to start a campaign, an idea for a simple first campaign as well. So what you would do here you'd have recover the passes the scenario for the first game, and it says here the winner of game 1 chooses to be the attacker or the defender in game 2. And then what happens is after game 2, if player A wins or there's a draw, you go on to the power stones. If player B wins, you then go on to capture the portal. And this is a way you can kind of branch out with a story arc depending upon what happens in each subsequent battle. And here it also says as well that basically for your first campaign, they recommend players play 4 to 8 games each and try to play everyone at least once. And then there's some ideas for points there as well. So again, this is another one of those things where it really is your warband, your story. You can set the campaign as simple and as straightforward as you want. You can have it over as many weeks and months as you want and have a really kind of deep and meaningful story. There's ways to take your campaign here into games of Dungeon Saga and also into games of Kings of War as well. So there really is a deep sort of underlying story and narrative to this that will branch out into those other bigger games. So I don't want to kind of go on too much about it. There's a hell of a lot more detail in there. I've just kind of skimmed over the top of it, but it gives you a little bit of flavor about how campaigns can work. There's so much stuff in there about what to do before a game starts, what to do after it, about how you level up, how you organize your rank, how you buy extra equipment with your gold. You have roster sheets in there that you can fill in to track everything as well. It says that they're fine to photocopy and that they'll be available on the Mantic site as downloadable PDFs too. So it's just a really deep campaign system that I thought was is worthy of a video on its own, and it's definitely worth checking out. So even if you pick up the free rules on this, I'm very doubtful that this campaign system will be in the free rules. I think it's really worth picking up the Kings of War Vanguard rulebook, especially while it's half price at the moment, and having a look at that campaign system. So let me know down in the comments, what are you interested in about this campaign system? Is there any questions that you have, and maybe stuff I haven't covered? There's a hell of a lot in there, and I didn't want to make this kind of a 30-minute video taking you into all of the detail. But if you've got any questions, leave them down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.